again, it's Kennard, Vernon, Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way. War Eagle. So, we're back to the recruiting stuff again. We're not going to talk about any recruits that have committed to Auburn. That's not the purpose of this video. But what I want to do is bring to the forefront the education that goes along with the recruiting process. Now, there are some people, and I'm going to call this subscriber / listener maybe, I don't know, to the forefront in just a second, because recruiting is straightforward, but it's not as cut and dry as people may think. I think a lot of times we are so hypnotized by Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Clemson, now Oregon, Florida, teams like those who, because from a brand standpoint, have a little bit more of an ability to recruit maybe 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5-star recruits. We feel that you absolutely have to have 5-star recruits in order to compete for championships. Now, that gives you a competitive edge because those 5-star recruits, you think about it, they give you, like Tua Tagovailoa, they give you the competitive edge. That's that once-in-a-generational type talent. They give you the ability to win games that you probably shouldn't win. Those games when things get tight, the 5-star recruits are the guys that are going to be the difference makers typically in games like that. You take it, Derek Stingley at LSU. He's a guy that could change the pace of a game. You know what I'm saying? Guys like those, like say Carnell Williams from back in the early 2000s. They changed the pace, or they changed the trajectory of the game. They call them game breakers. So, yes, you absolutely need 5-star recruits on your team, especially when you've done your homework in this area, which we will talk about. Now, I had an interview with my buddy Devin Dawson, the founder of All About Auburn, on Facebook. I think you should join that channel, especially if you like the debate about Auburn football. It gets a little emotional over there, but overall a pretty good group. As a matter of fact, I am on the low a founding member of that particular group. I remember when we were in the infancy stages of that group, and it's incredible to see what that group has grown into now. Subsequently, he was on my show, as he, kind of pops in here and there. He was on my show a couple of days ago, and we talked some things about Auburn recruiting and blah, blah, blah. Just the usual Auburn jargon. And he had some valid points, and we talked about the differences between 4 stars and things like that. So we get a commenter. His name is Joseph Slayton. Much respect to Joseph Slayton. I appreciate all the comments because the comments give me ideas as to where to roll with the channel as far as content. And I thought this was a good one. He brought a lot of good points. Now, I think the whole half moron thing, it is what it is. People leave crazy comments, but hey, it is what it is. He says we got all 4 stars like that means anything in the SEC. Now, that's where I talk about the hypnotization of Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Clemson, all of those teams that, yes, they have 5-star recruits, of course. But what people don't take a lot of account in is that those teams also have roster builders. And roster builders are within the 4-star portion of the 24/7 composite rivals, all those other corporations that do numbers and calculate a player's ability to translate their show between college, high school and college. So, it's a very interesting process. And the 4-star recruit is arguably the most important portion of building a roster. You think about even a corporation. They don't have all 5 stars. Yeah, you get a top exec every now and then. You get a crazy talented person every now and then. But for the most part, your team is going to be, corporation-wise, going to be filled with 4 stars, and that's going to be the anchor of your roster. So just think about it. Marlon Davidson wasn't a 5-star. You know what I'm saying? Carlton Davis was actually a 4-star recruit. Jeremiah Denson, Daniel Thomas, they were excellent football players and competed at a high level in Power 5 football. Those guys were like lower tier 3-star recruits. But how you build your roster, I keep telling y'all this. The way you build your roster is not by what Auburn used to do. Auburn used to have a high-end 5-star recruit like Calvin Ashley, somebody like that. And then the rest of the class, you got a whole bunch of dysfunction and unorthodox stuff going on. Guys that are never going to play, never going to get playing time. They're middle tier, 3-star, 4-star recruits. And then the fan base wants to give inquiries as to why they think Auburn should have won a national championship. As a matter of fact, given all things involved, Auburn actually should not have won a national championship even in 2010, because that was not a team composite-wise that were national championship caliber. Great, they got it together during the latter portion of the season, but when you think about sustainability, and that's what I talk about all the time, those middle-tier 4-star recruits create sustainability. What happened when Auburn won the national championship in 2010? They completely went south in 2011, and 2012 fell completely apart because of the lack of solidarity recruiting-wise. So what I'm saying is the 4-star recruit is important. And the ones that you really got to look at is the ones like Tank Bigsby, the ones like Romello Height, the ones like, who else am I thinking about, man? I'll tell you what, since I can't think of any names, let's go with the number. Anybody between, I'd say 88 and 97, those are the roster builders. And then when you get up past 95, 96, these are guys that probably could be 5-star recruits. But let's look at Wesley Steiner real quick. Why is he not a 5-star recruit? Well, in analyzing his talent, he's just as good at linebacker. I mean, just as good as running back as he was at linebacker. So you have a dual threat athlete, but you have to compartmentalize his totality of talent as it's going to transfer over to Power 5 football, and you have to look at the total body of work. Now, if everything he did was as a linebacker and he played at the level that he did, then yes, he would have been a 5-star recruit. But he's having to displace his talent on both sides of the football field, so you have to come up with a general composite, which usually is going to come up around 96 because he's an exceptional athlete. When, in fact, this dude played in an Under Armour All-Star game against high-level elite talent, and you could see the discrepancies at the linebacker position because in a lot of places he was out of position, but those are things that he can be fixed once he totally concentrates on the linebacker position. But that's just a small example. But I just wanted to bring this to the forefront so we can start the conversation and really start talking about what it takes to build a roster and what it takes to compete for championships year in and year out. And the 9-4 season for Auburn was a really, really good example of how the last few recruiting classes and overlap in talent has really helped them out. Because Auburn was in every single game. Every single game, even with an anemic offensive line, with a true freshman quarterback, with the offensive coordinator, hey, it is what it is. Even with all of those factors involved, Auburn had a legitimate shot at winning every football game they play. And that's what it takes. Having a legitimate shot, having a legitimate opportunity in every game you play. Yeah, you might not win them, but you were right there with them. Only lost to LSU by 3 points. Okay, my rant is over. Really enjoy doing this channel. Kennard Vernon Stewart once again here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football like nobody's business. Go ahead and click the bell twice so that you don't miss any of this solid information. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.